call the meeting to order. Public discussion of any items not on the agenda. All right. Consideration of the meeting minutes from October 2nd.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Ooh, okay, here comes the hot stuff. Review and consider the old post office gallery at the senior center program.
Okay, I'll start, and then we'll invite Latasha up to share more too. So you're right, this is the hot stuff. This is exciting. But in your agenda packet, I had a staff memo kind of explaining this program, and then the draft policy and standard operating procedure, which we worked on in partnership with the senior center staff, and then just our current budget status, so you can see how the funding ask would fit in. So I'll just kind of review that memo really quick, but in short, we've been working with the senior center staff to kind of formalize their current gallery space that they have at the senior center. They have 2 gallery spaces right now, and one in their assembly room and then one in their top floor kind of hallway. And people do show art there, but not many people know about it. There's not regular hours, and there's not a process to encourage and invite folks to show there. So we've been working together to establish more of a structure and a process and a partnership ultimately between Public Art Program and the Senior Center to better activate that gallery space and make it more marketable. So this aligns with a few different action items in your strategic plan, of course, which is why we've been working towards it. And again, it establishes these 2 exhibition areas, so the main gallery in the assembly room and then the top floor gallery on their top floor. Both of the systems are currently equipped with a wall hanging system, and we have established some funding, not from the public art budget, but some other funding that will enable us to make some improvements to the spaces to make them an even better place for artists to show and want to show there. So just things like updated track lighting, just sprucing everything up, making it look nice, space to display informational materials, and place for the artist to display information about sales, that kind of stuff. So what we have envisioned now is that the exhibitions would rotate about every 2 months. At the start of or before January 1 of each year, we'd kind of issue a general call for artists, which the public art coordinator would help pull together. And then the coordination of the program would be a partnership between the Senior Center and the Public Art Program. So the Public Art Coordinator would kind of manage everything up until the artists are being selected. So they would help with that call for artists, kind of figuring out what that annual calendar looks like based on, recurring things that they already have, like participation in the gallery walk and Older Americans Month with like the more public calls. And then there would be a selection committee who evaluates all of the submissions for the call for artists, makes choices, and then fills in that calendar for the exhibition. And then it would be, at that point, then it would be on the Senior Center program specialist or their staff to manage everything after that point. So work with the artist on their agreement and actually installing, taking down, managing the exhibition. We did write into the program the opportunity for an annual kind of emerging artist mentorship exhibition. So kind of building off what we did with the bench project and our strategic plan goal to support artists as a workforce. This would be an opportunity each year for one of the exhibitions to be reserved for an artist mentor kind of situation where we pair the selected exhibition artist who's maybe the first time that they're showing or they're early in their career with someone who is experienced in setting up an exhibit. And so they could kind of just mentor them on like best practices and how they can lay that exhibit out. And then we'd provide a little stipend to each, because one thing Latasha's team has learned is that sometimes if they have a newer artist, even just getting the frames to hang their exhibition is a barrier. So with just a little funding, they could overcome that and then have that on their CV. So we'll have that opportunity each year. which we've programmed in $350 at this time. We could always, change that amount, but each year we would probably decide at the PAC level if we want to offer that for the year and then build that into our budget. So I hope you had a chance to review that full draft policy and procedure, but we certainly can dive into any piece of it in more detail if you want to talk about it or have questions. Along with this program, we're hoping that the first kind of launch exhibition will be held in January and February. So Latasha has been working with many partners, including Public Space One and their Center for Afrofuturist Studies on an Afrofuturism series, which they're going to be holding during those months. And in honor of Black History Month, they want to include a community mural component in which they will offer, it says tiles in here, but it's actually going to be small canvases. So members of the public can come pick up that canvas and supplies, create an art piece based on what Afrofuturism in Iowa City would mean or look like to them, and Latasha can talk more about this, and then return it and it will become one large mural. And so in support of that project and just kind of the ongoing partnership, the Senior Center is asking for this one-time request in $2,000 to pay for those community supplies. So you kind of have two asks before you today. Is one, I want your feedback and any comments or suggestions you have on kind of the program outline in general and that policy process procedures. Ultimately, the Senior Center Commission will have to approve that since it really will be their program. But since there's a partnership with staff time and some resources going into it from Public Art Program, we of course want your approval and input as well. So that would be the first piece. And then the second piece would be to consider approval of that $2,000 funding request for the community aspect of this first exhibition coming up for Black History Month. Latasha, did you want to share anything about the project or? Yeah.
I want to hear more personally.
Great.
Sure. So we are partnering with UNESCO, City of Literature, Iowa City Public Library, PS1, Public Space One for folks that don't know that. Oh goodness, I can't even think of all the names. Film Scene, and I'm forgetting somebody. I don't remember who I'm forgetting, but hopefully counted to my head, not my heart. And we will be doing actually a series of things. So the actual name of the event is Parables of the Future, Black Future Fest. So we're Afrofuturism. The mother of Afrofuturism is Octavia Butler. So if you've ever read Kindred or Parable of the Sower or anything like that, you know about her idea about liberation and what that looked like. And so we're trying to kind of, we always do a theme for Black history. Last year was Harlem Renaissance. This year is Afrofuturism. And so why not partner with the Center for Afrofuturism? Just so happen to be down the street. And so what is happening through that, we will be, PS1 will be opening up their library. They have a Center for Afrofuturism library, and they'll be explaining what it is to the community in an open house. After that, we will have Film Scene will be showcasing some Afrofuturistic films in a panel, and then we'll have a book panel. There'll be a community read of those two books, and we'll have some folks that kind of really have a lot of depth on Octavia Butler's life and her work at the Iowa City Public Library, as well as after that we'll have a fashion show, art gallery, and we'll have the community mural. That will be the one it'll be opened up. So the idea with the mural is some of it it'll be whole that day, but then some of it will go to the Center for Afrofuturism and the rest of it will stay at the Senior Center. So if people want to see the full thing, they have to go to both places. So we're just being futuristic about how that art is displayed. What I love about this project is it's one thing when we have people who have a vision and they get people to do this one picture. This is be an opportunity for everyone to be able to contribute, and we'll put it together. The only thing in the kit we'll have some resources for folks about what Afrofuturism is, so we can stay in the theme. And we're incorporating one color. Our one main color through all of this is sapphire. This is next year is the Senior Center's 45th anniversary, so we will provide them sapphire paint or they have pens with acrylic paint in it that's sapphire color. So we're just, even if it's just one dot, we'll take the one dot. But that's our hope, is that we'll pull that together, and it'll be a great opportunity for folks to be able to participate, young and old, and everybody in between, to be able to have these 4x4 canvases. We switched from the tiles because where we're planning on putting them are both historic buildings, and some of them are plaster walls, so we didn't want it to be too heavy. So we switched to the stretch canvas, and it'll still be the same size, 4x4. Other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious about, will you be doing sort of like paint-ins, or will it be you have such great partners, and so it will be a matter of, will those become points of distribution, or?
Yes, so we will have distribution places around the community. We're still reaching out to some other places. Once we find out we get this, I can really launch those real solid. Some different places. We definitely are going to reach out into communities of color, of course, because we want to make sure that their voices and their art is shown. So we'll be very specific about places, whether it's Dream City or the neighborhood centers, etc. But they will be at all the locations of our partners. Public Library, Senior Center, PS1, etc., Film Scene. Everybody will take canvases and we'll be able to pull them back together. PS1, and we have actually a really large committee of folks that will help put it together to turn it into a picture. So we're really excited about that.
So you're talking about the $2,000 request, the next item, but what about the actual program for the ongoing exhibit space? How do you plan to advertise or manage the artist choices, that sort of thing? That's just not this one event. That's ongoing, right?
Yeah, I think that kind of goes back to
They're separate, I think.
Yeah. So we didn't.
I think that's what specifically what Rachel's been talking about.
Sure. So it's kind of outlined in that, it's the internal
procedure, I
procedures
think.
document.
Right. But we were okay, Steve. You were talking about the next item on the agenda, right?
But Rachel introduced both of
sorry.
them.
Yeah. Okay.
And then
Yeah.
I believe your chair specifically asked about it, so I was answering her question about the fest.
Yeah.
Was there another question? I'm sorry, did I miss?
I guess I have a question about the ongoing program. So I think this exhibit sounds really cool. Full support of that. My question is just going forward, hearing a lot of established names on that list for this particular exhibit, is there some sort of, in terms of how artists are recruited or what the access is to the ongoing space, is there some way to allot a particular amount of months to new or emerging artists or community members, or however we do it? I don't want to get too restrictive, but I also just sort of picture a scenario where most of the time is themed around whatever month it is or involving the usual players. Like, I'd want the space to be just sort of free and open to single community artists regardless of a theme.
Yeah.
Rachel,
Exactly.
you want me to answer or you want to answer?
I can start and see what you have.
Okay.
Well, so we envisioned kind of this selection committee could help with that, but I talked to John Engelbrecht with PS1 to kind of get some best practice advice when we were talking about this program, and he had the same feedback, which is we need more opportunities for like artist-led exhibitions, not responding to a theme all the time, which there's certainly a time and place for it, which Latasha's upcoming exhibit is a great example of that. So that's what I'm talking about with that whole community calendar, is like every year we might know a few things that come. Every 2 years, the Senior Center hosts the State Traveling Watercolor Exhibition. So we know these 2 months have to be spent on that. But then the rest would really just be filled in with that open call for artists. Did you have a
Yeah, so I just want to be really clear that we're talking about two separate things, but they kind of cross over a little bit because the first big gallery show for this future policy procedure would be that day on February 14th. So, but the rest of the year would be open to new artists, emerging artists, or artists in general outside of some of those established ones that we have. We try to, like during Older Americans Month, we might, some newer, older artists, they might have been an engineer before and now they're retired and they're taking art classes. Sometimes we will gather a couple of those artists and we will put their things up. You know what I'm saying? So outside of that, like we don't have any standing ones. So it would be open. The rest of those months would be open for folks. But these other folks are just a part of the committee for the Black Future Fest. So they're not the main people that we'll be advertising to for the art for the year. That will come out of the art coordinator's office. We'll be doing the advertising. We're just going to be responsible for contacting the artists when they're selected, getting things set up, making sure everything's on display. If they want to do an opening, et cetera, we'll do those parts. So that's in the lower part of the procedure where we're responsible.
I'm really excited about this, and I think it's really smart and strategic the way that you're unfolding it. I think the partners are really deep and established and have great track records, and I think having this first exhibition is going to introduce artists to the space, which has been one of the major things we heard from artists is we need spaces to show. But it's also can be hard to find out and to know what those spaces are. And so this is going to get so many people. Like, how many canvases are you hoping to get sapphire paint on?
Well, I think right now we're looking, well, you always overguess. You probably get about 70% back. You never know. Our hope is that we get at least 150, maybe. We'll see. Some of it's going to come down to space and where we're thinking about putting it. But we have some really great folks. Like I said, John's going to help us with putting the mural together and some other volunteers that have kind of artist backgrounds. So we're really excited about it. Our hope, obviously, we're going to try to take the best pieces that we can, and things that are turned in. We'll have timelines attached to that. So that might, kind of move things around there. But I'm excited about it because what I love about it is we get to see community voices through their art. And I love that because it's not just, we're going to do a flower. We're going to do whatever that looks like. And that's the point of Afrofuturism, right? It's kind of that sci-fi, imagine what it could be creativity that I'm just very excited about. Hope to get a lot of youth involved, a lot of our seniors involved, and like I said, everyone in between. So I'm excited. It's just kind of a dream project of mine that I've been talking about the Senior Center for a couple of years after I saw something similar in Washington, D.C. a couple of years ago. So very excited about the project.
Well, and I love the layers with not just painting and art in a gallery, but with film scene and with PS1 and with the libraries. And so that all seems really exciting. And I would, just as a suggestion, I'm also a huge Octavia Butler fan. So I might have a little bias, but the films bring in a lot of other things to respond to and kind of information. But there could be, some like sort of paint-ins, like where people actually paint, because there is issues with materials going out and not coming back. But, the library and PS1 would be great locations just if people wanted to have support and permission. Like, people get very nervous about making art, and it's like, no, it's really good.
I think our hope is also to do a workshop or two.
Yeah.
So that people can come together and kind of do it together as a community. We just got to work through some of those pieces. But really excited. Like I said, we're really excited to do it. But the hope is that we get at least enough of them back. Even if we get a few, it's still a powerful piece to me to be able to display that it comes from there. And we're really excited about the partnership with the Senior Center Gallery. We call it the Old Post Office Gallery because the Senior Center was originally the Old Post Office. And it really has had some amazing, incredible art in there. I mean, incredible art. And it also will give those our seniors that are normally sometimes having some of those shows, give them a different audience as well. And people can obviously sell their art, et cetera. So we're looking forward to, and it brings more people in the building because we want to be a welcoming space across ages because we do a lot of intergenerational work. And so our hope is that, as people are coming in, they're like, hey, did you know this program is going on? And it kind of spreads the word as we work on trying to reduce isolation as well. And our hope is that all those things kind of come together.
Exciting. And so, did you want us to talk about, Andrea, like, do we have to vote on two things here?
Yes. So
I'm all ready.
you'll ultimately provide any feedback you have on the policy and procedure that we presented to you, and then approve that if you feel so inclined. And then the next would be to consider approval of the $2,000 funding request for the first project.
For the existing exhibit space, is the hanging systems and lighting adequate for an exhibit space, or is there a need to upgrade any of that?
So that's what some of the other discretionary funds, what we have right now works amazing, but we definitely could use some upgrades and a couple more lights, and a little bit more mounting. But for the most part, a lot of things we have there will be great. We also want to purchase, we have a limited ability to do 3D art, which some people may want to do sculpture, but we only have like 3 of those. So we wanted to purchase some more of the pedestals and the casings for that. So it's just different things like that to kind of be able to display more different types of art than just kind of that 2D.
And is that a request to?
No, not to
So-
this committee.
That's
Yeah,
in
so
your
the
in your
city
budget, the senior center?
The city
Okay, okay.
manager approved some other general funds
Yeah.
to help make those
Yeah.
improvements, so.
So,
not
but it's
coming
just
from
to
our
make the
budget.
whole
Yeah.
overall experience for artists coming in to have better lighting, et cetera, yeah.
And so our partnership with that is that we would be a vetting, like what is our part, what?
Yeah, so your role in I'm going to skip over this Black History Month project and just talk about going forward, right? So your role would be a few different things. So each year you would want to determine, do you want to offer that emerging artist round? And so if you do, then we would need to build in the $350 to our operating budget for that stipend. We'll need a representative from the Public Art Committee on the selection committee, so they would help with selecting the artists from the submissions and then building out what that calendar looks like. And then it would just be staff time, so you'd kind of be approving like the public art coordinator to work on this each year in terms of pulling together that call for artists, helping to promote and do communications, just like keeping the website updated, that kind of thing.
I think that's exciting. A lot of communities have models of that, of, working with the art, like, older artists or established artists working with emerging artists. And I think that's exciting. And I think, that's a very modest budget. So it's, a good place to start.
I had just a little bit of a follow-up question with the selection process in terms of the selection committee. So it sounds like one public art member, it sounds like the 2 coordinators, and then someone from, I don't know if there's like a senior center board, commission, et cetera, but I'm assuming some members of.
No, it wouldn't be the Senior Center Commission.
Okay.
No, it would.
It would be a representative from the commission,
Okay.
one member.
Do you all want a Senior Center Commissioner on there?
That's what we wrote in is
Okay, well
a
then we will have a Senior
commission
Center
member,
Commissioner.
but we can change.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it just would be a small committee. The hope is
Sure.
a small committee
Yeah.
to look at it, to make sure that it's following within the guidelines of the type of art. Obviously, we
Yeah.
don't want to censor anyone's art, but, we do have some guidelines in that, in that procedure.
Yeah, and just kind of figure, I just wanted to know if it would, be all public art, or if, obviously if there would be senior center input into that, but just kind of a little bit of
Yeah,
curiosity
but
on that.
our hope is that it's more, that we're not going to be specifically looking through a senior center lens when we're looking at the overall art. When we have our specific, when we have specific things that we're doing, we will curate that
Yeah.
and let Rachel know. But when it's open for everyone, we're just looking at it like, oh, this will be great. So we're not going to be like, is this senior connected?
Oh, no,
Right,
no, I
right,
didn't
right.
get that impression.
Yeah, okay. I just want to be really clear. Like,
No.
you're going to be looking at it as overall, as art and having it in the senior center.
Oh, yeah. I just didn't want to be like, well, public art gets to do it, but, senior center staff and users of the space are kind of stuck with whatever, so just making sure that was kind of
Yeah, and
their
we
representatives
have
from both
had
basin.
a variety of type of art. So even when I first started, we had one that terrified me. I'm not going to even lie. It was a little scary, but she had horns. But, so we call her Eleanor. So, you know what I'm saying? So we have had, the senior center members and public that come into that space, we're very familiar with all different types of expression. So we're very, very open. And so we're not worried about it at all.
No, I'm super excited to have another exhibition space, but also an exhibition space outside of, that feels more community or more public outside of the university, et cetera. So
I'm excited. I'm excited that
following
more
up-
people are knowing about it.
And kind of following up on some of your points and concerns, I think that that's really well founded, and I think that's something, that the committee can kind of keep an eye on, making sure it doesn't get too heavily in one thing, and so that it does become a place where individual artists, but also these really great initiatives like the one that we're thinking about with the Futurism can happen too. That we have a balance and a nice ebb and flow of exhibitions and availability.
Yeah. I'm excited to see the space get more use. I've been up there for a few of the art walk and a number of other things up there, and it's a big space. It's really nice.
It'll be great, especially for people who have had art sitting that they haven't been able to display. The other thing I think will be helpful for the public and for you all is we can split the gallery. So if someone has a smaller show, they can just do one floor and another artist can do another. So instead of it just being 6 or 8 artists through the year, we can have the ability to have more if someone doesn't have enough art to do both floors.
Okay, and I was kind of wondering just a little bit about that too, of if you would have, just, all over, or, just this artist wants this gallery, this artist wants this, et cetera.
Yeah, some of it'll depend sometimes on the size of it. So if it's a much larger pieces, they'll have to go in the assembly room because we can only take certain size pieces for the top gallery versus the assembly room has way bigger walls and has, so if it's smaller pieces, if people are doing, I don't know, if it's longer, that works, but if they're really tall, then we have to put them in the assembly room. So that'll be a part of that coordination that we have to do about making sure that it's mounted correctly and it's the right size that'll fit. But if both are small, obviously we can make it work. But that a lot of that will really depend on the size of what's being submitted from the artist about what gallery makes the most sense. But it does open it up for more artists because we have 2. Yeah.
And I love that too. I'm just wondering, do we need any more discussion about the procedure of all this and how far in advance we're booking artists and or is this something that will evolve and
Well, the first exhibition is February,
February,
and
yeah.
it would seem like you'd want to show in March, right? So you either would want to put out a call before, or you could use that as a place to advertise future calls if you feel like the space just wouldn't be left empty.
Well, my hope is, and Rachel and I just chatted briefly, was that she would also help elevate that we have more space for more artists for the Black Future Fest art show. We only have about 4 artists, and we have space for more artists. So I think it's a way to kind of do both, to say we have this opening and we're looking for other artists for the rest of the year.
So to do a call earlier than later.
Yeah, that's the
would be
plan.
Okay.
and then there's an online application or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're planning to. So that would be kind of the next piece. We started talking to communications about. We'll kind of market it as 2 things, like this artist opportunity. So we're gonna have Cable get some video of the space so people know what they're working with, that kind of thing, and we'll have an online application. I'll probably bring that call for artists up to you guys for review and feedback. And then the other thing we will market is the gallery itself. So it won't just all be marketed as one. We want to make it's 2 different audiences. So people will be able to see that, oh, there's a gallery available that I can go to, and these are the open hours. So that's something we worked with the Senior Center on, is now there's designated hours someone knows they can go and see that art too.
Would we be able to put up some flyers, especially at some of these partnership venues, advertising that? It's just, I want, just so that it's not just on a website that someone has to go to.
Yeah.
With the call, if we could have some stuff up in the library, if we could have, the film scene and PS1, and
Yeah.
this would be helpful, I think, to getting that word out.
Yeah, we could do that.
And so, okay, and then is it okay if I ask another question?
We're all looking at you, Anita, so sure, go ahead.
Okay. Well, do I have something in my teeth?
No,
Where are we taking or moving money, and how do we create the funding stream? If we approve, I'm just curious about that.
So the one-time $2,000 request in your agenda packet, I did include, which I can just pull it up on the screen here. Let's see. I did kind of include and it's not showing up.
Yeah, that'd be great to look at that.
This is kind of like the status of where our budget is at if you approve the $2,000 funding request. So we had about $15,000 still in our opportunity fund we hadn't spent. So if you choose to approve the 2,000 today, we'll have 13 remaining, and that is good for our budget, which ends June 30th. And then the $350. I mean, we could take that out of the opportunity fund this year too, and then in the future just earmark it or whatever. It's not a big deal, I don't think.
Great.
Yeah.
So it's a very simple request. I mean, it's a request we can meet without, stealing from Peter to pay Paul.
I think so. Yeah. When we talked about budget priorities, I think, we talked about the opportunity fund for this purpose, right? As those opportunistic projects.
I think it's a great project. I think, both projects just tick so many of the boxes when we went to those listening sessions. This is what we heard, and I think it's really exciting, and I really appreciate the work and vision that went into it. So I'm very affirmative.
Can I ask a question about the policy? So in the policy, it talks about sales of artwork that occurs as a part of the exhibition. And there's a commission that will be paid to the senior center by the artist. If the Public Art Committee is having some administration as a part of this new program, should there be revenue coming back to our budget?
We hadn't talked about it. Right now, the senior center is taking a commission on the art they're showing and selling as a result of being in the space. So
And they're maintaining the spaces physically. I mean, there's, patching and,
Sure. Yeah.
and
But-
so that would be where the lights or resources. Does that make sense?
I guess. But we're taking on some administration duties, right? As a part of being able to get those artists into the space, right? Because now we're doing the call and right? So I understand. It seems that as it is a revenue generator for the senior center, right? It seems that there's some value to.
I don't know how much revenue you are generating. Probably
I'm
not much.
I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's not. Right?
No, but symbolically, that
But-
would matter.
It would fund
But-
future
And
parts
and
of this.
emerging
Yeah.
artists, and I think that
Could
makes
fund the emerging artists
Right.
part of it. Yeah, you said it better than I did.
same thing.
That would be if a majority feels like we wanted to request that, we would then write that into the policy, and then, like I said, ultimately the senior center would have the final say over it. So
What percentage commission? I don't know if it's
25%.
Okay,
is what it says.
25%. I mean, and it could just be like 10% us, 15% them, or so.
What would seem,
Mike. We don't really make a lot of the art that we have gotten over the years. A lot of it is not for sale.
Yes.
And so it's not like we're really taking in a lot, but it does take quite a bit of time and coordination with sometimes helping the artists get all the stuff on the walls and making sure they, and we have some printing and different things for the artists that we need to do for the displays. So that's where some of that 25%, I guess, will come from. And so if you all want to split it, that's fine. We would have to take the policy back, adjust it, send it to the city attorney, and then bring it back to you all, and then bring it back to Senior Center Commission. So I guess we wouldn't be able to get it approved till the end of December or January. So I'm not sure.
We can approve the funding for the event in February. This is separate with the guidelines for the ongoing exhibit. So those two can be separate, right? If you're worried about getting approval for the event, we can.
Yeah, I
cer-
think
we
that's
can-
an
No, it wasn't the event I was worried about. It was the policy, because we would have to go in and change the policy if we change it. Because right now it's written that it's 25%, so we would need to go in, change that, and then get the approvals. And
Sure,
but
but
the
you
Senior
don't
Center
need the
Commission,
policy for February. You need the policy for after that, right?
but wouldn't we need the policy and procedure before we put the call out? Will we need? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, we could proceed under the assumption,
That-
I suppose, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's
I
what
w-
that's
I
what I
would
was worried
say-
about, is that those things would not technically be in
yeah,
place
I think we
because they
could
had
move
been
forward.
voted on, and then.
I would say from staff perspective, but certainly open to whatever you all decide, is the real administrative burden and cost burden is on the senior center. I mean, the program specialist is really implementing it, and I think pulling together the call for artists is a much smaller ask. We don't have any like capital type improvements. We're not printing, the tags and putting those up, and so I don't see a huge cost for the public art program that would necessitate a return on the commission of sales, but if you all feel differently, we can certainly write that in and then take it to the senior center.
Does the senior center charge artists to show there? Is there a cost?
No.
So that's really great that there's no cost to the artists. A lot of places do. And do you host a reception for the work?
We can. If the artist requests to have a reception, we absolutely will help with setting it up. We'll help them with some of the advertising. Sometimes they do their own advertising. For instance, Dr. Hani Akadi, he had a bunch of people come in and he did a presentation and people were able to walk around. It just kind of depends on that, and I think it's in the procedure if the artist wants a reception. Some people don't; they just want to have their art on the wall and be done. But some people do; they want a whole, pizzazz of it. So it just kind of depends.
Well, from a public art perspective, I think the openings are actually for the public and important. That's how people know about a space and go to the space and. So I do think those are important, and those do require funding. I mean, that's usually why people take a percentage are covering all these expenses that you're mentioning, and 25% is usually it's like 50 or more or less. No, it's usually about 50.
Yeah, so they were just going to absorb that into their budget, right? Like with the commission they're getting on sales of art is nowhere near covering probably what they would need for even like the drinks at one opening reception. So I think
A lot of that's coming out of our
like when we were talking about this and talking about it as a partnership, it's like really if we're looking to get our goals met based on what we're hearing from the community, we're asking the senior center to go above and beyond what they've been doing. And, they're just absorbing that into their budget, into their staff time. And so
I think in light of that, maybe just keep it as is. Just let them keep the commission. I'm sure it is nominal.
I would second that. I wouldn't want to raise the percentage either. Just knowing we're wanting to encourage more community artists and emerging artists, I wouldn't want, if they're trying to sell their work, to raise the total up. So I would agree to just keep it 25% to the senior center.
And it's also something that can be revisited, because we're talking about a new space and launching a space, and obviously as time goes, and hopefully it becomes very successful, and
Okay. Well, I'm assuming we'll maybe stick with topic 4 and kind of vote on that and vote on the policy, and then kind of move to the project. Any other last comments? Okay. Okay. So we need to put forth a motion. Yes.
I'll move to adopt it as written.
Got a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. So it looks like we got another motion here coming up for the funding request for $2,000 one time Afrofuturism mural community project.
I motion to support that project with $2,000.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I like how you two did that.
Thank you, Latasha.
All right. Okay. Number 6, consideration of bylaws amendment revising membership.
Okay, so this is a proposed change to the bylaws for you all to consider. As you know, in our recent strategic plan, we included an item to establish a public art relationship with the University of Iowa. And while we do have member employees of the University of Iowa often on our board, we don't have anyone who's kind of like intimately engaged with the campus planning, public art oversight and management. So I had been meeting with various staff who are involved in that world, and throughout our discussions, one idea that came up was the option to have someone from the university sit as an ex officio seat on our public art advisory committee. So we would aim for that person, again, to be someone who works with campus installations or campus enhancement, public art, that kind of thing. And we just think this would help us collaborate on a lot of different opportunities going forward. We know the Literary Walk's going to need some work in a few years. We know we want to do an Iowa River project, and much of the campus overlaps with that. So we think it would be kind of a good opportunity to have them more involved and more bought in on what we're doing, and then also for us to be more engaged in what they're doing, and how can we also help promote their publicly accessible art through like our map or those kinds of things. So in pursuit of that, I have proposed a bylaw which would swap one of our current at-large seats for an ex officio representative from the University of Iowa. We, of course, could add another seat. We do already have a large commission, and so there's, quorum complications that come with that and stuff. But so we could do that if you prefer that instead, but right now we just have it written as the next time that an at-large seat would be vacated, we would just fill it with that university representative.
And so it would be sort of an invitation for that person to join the committee.
What do you mean?
Well, the seat would become available, and you're working sort of with the gallery, library, and art museum people, or you're working with the campus people?
Yeah, so kind of the campus enhancement and planning group
yeah.
is who I'd been talking to.
Great.
Yep.
So it's an invitation as opposed to the online application for
Yeah.
new members.
Yep. And so an ex officio seat means they hold the seat due to the nature of their job. Technically, Ron and Julie are ex officio members as well.
And we like them a lot.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I was going to say, who's at large other than me?
Andrea is.
I am.
Okay, because I didn't know if it was Nate or,
Oh, yeah.
think I'm
So in June, there's, I think, in June, there's 2 seats expiring. I should have it in front of me, but one is an at-large seat, I believe, for sure. I don't know whose it is.
So I guess, when I was thinking about this, and the bylaws, at least 3 design professionals, and then, I'm wondering if, I think about the at-large versus the design, and I get why we would want design professionals on this commission and have it be specifically designated as such, right? But I am kind of wondering if we could, if it's the 3 ex officios, could we have 3 design and 3 at-large? Sometimes I feel like the design designation is, I get why it's necessary, but then it's kind of strange to say, well, get rid of an at-large when sometimes an at-large position,
Could be.
I'm not an architect, I'm not an artist, I'm not, whatever, and neither is Leslie, but I think our at-large folks do a fine job of dealing with public art, and so it just feels a little bit like, well, why does an at-large, have to be sacrificed in the same way? Or, could we have things sort of equally designated between 3 ex officio, 3 design, 3 at
I think
large?
that's a really good point, because we've had trouble before getting people that are, practitioners. So yeah, I think that's a good point.
I completely agree with that. I
Yes.
think that that person would be an architecture planning professional by nature of being, part of that department. And so we're almost like, it's almost a 1-to-1. It's just that seat is now coming from the university.
Right, but then I guess, okay, so there are 3 at large, 3 then design, or at least 3 design professionals in the bylaw, and then obviously we'll have another ex officio, but we're keeping it at 9 individuals, or we could keep it at 9. That makes sense in terms of voting, to not have, an even number. So I guess my question or comments or whatever I'm doing here is more about the general sort of structure of how, I guess, the pot of who is a committee member versus necessarily like, it does make sense that clearly if somebody from the university is going to be joining this, that they would probably,
Yeah, I would.
have that kind of, experience.
I would say instead of taking it from the this is very little on my phone. Oh, shoot.
So the way it's written now would be 3 ex officio members, 3 art or design, and 3 at large.
Okay,
Because there's currently 4 at large positions.
okay, okay, okay,
Oh, thanks. That's a lot easier.
okay.
Well, yeah, because I was going to say, because an artist or a designer can also just be a member.
Right, and then I guess it's always one of those things where it's like, what is the technical definition of like design professional? I can get it intuitively, but then,
So would you want 4 at large, 2?
no, I think having
Or-
them 3, 3, and 3, because I think there is real,
Well, it's 3-3.
It will be 3, 3, and 3 if we,
yeah.
yeah.
So the committee consists of 9 members, 6 of whom are appointed by city council. Of those 6, 3 must be art or design professionals. And while it doesn't say that here, then that leaves the remaining 3 to be at large.
So what I would advocate is that 2 shall be art or design. Well, I think it can be hard if we can't find, like, you could do a 3 would be the 2 artists and at least 1, a University of Iowa with professional and administrative authority related to public art. That would be one grouping. And then the other one would be, we would have 3 members to be ex officio. Because those members could be artists too. Like, that's an option. Do you see what I'm saying? So instead of saying the 3 artists shall be ex officio and 1 of those will be a staff representative. So instead it would be, there'll be 3 shall be art or design professionals, with 1 being a staff representative from and appointed by the University of Iowa. Does that make sense?
But then that's not an ex officio person.
So it's a new sentence after the.
I'm just saying, like, because otherwise you have only 2 people from the community that aren't artists.
No, it's 3 people from the community, 3 who are artists, and then 3 ex officio, so total of 9.
But then you're taking from the 1 ex officio.
No.
No,
At
large.
We're adding to the ex officio. We're taking away from the council appointed.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
I'm all caught up.
No, I feel like I got caught up too with the at-large.
Thank you.
So,
It doesn't specify it, so it's a little confusing.
Yeah.
But
then I don't think, I think my original conception, I have no beef here today. I have no beef, excuse me. So I guess with that person, with the UI person, because I think I've only experienced Iowa City as a community member, so there's always, as the largest employer, making sure there's not kind of an outsized imbalance of influence on that person. So I guess I'm leaving it to Rachel, Leslie, Anita to find a good person who's going to match our vibe and be.
Well, it sounds like, Rachel, maybe you have thoughts on who
Well,
that
I think
person would be.
we would let the university appoint the position. So we talked to Rod Leonards about who that would be. But that's why we're writing it this way in the agreement is it needs to be someone with professional or administrative authority related to public art, campus planning, and or campus enhancement. We wouldn't want them to appoint, say, like an arts graduate student, because if we have to make a decision about the literary walk, we want someone who, has real decision making authority and that kind of thing. So we would let them probably ultimately assign the person, and that could change every few years, but if you had, like specific requests that you wanted that we should write into the bylaws, now would be the time to clarify what that is.
Is there an option to add the seat as a non-voting
Yeah.
seat? So that way we're having the conversation, we can coordinate, but we're not giving one organization. Even though it is a public organization, I get that, but one organization, a vote on an otherwise made up of the public council.
Well, we're all obligated to recuse ourselves if our interests are imbalanced, potentially, we have that responsibility.
Ron and Julie are voting members.
Yeah. We're asking for someone's time and effort, and I think having an equal voice matters, but, I'm very conscious because I know a lot of artists, and so I do recuse myself sometimes from things because, it's not, I think I can be fair, but I think I'm also a human.
You can go any way you want to go. Whatever.
Well, I'm wondering, if the university, says, hey, so-and-so this time, can that be kind of vetted a little bit between, Leslie, I assume you know all these people. I don't know if you do, but I assume you do. So can there be a little bit of vetting happening between
I don't know these people.
okay.
I mean, I know Rod, but I don't know.
Okay. Because is there a little bit of vetting that can happen? And I guess it really doesn't matter because if, Leslie, Anita goes off the board, that doesn't mean we'll have, university staff per se.
And it's a 3-year appointment, just similar to any of the other people. No? Okay.
They'll have a permanent seat, so it would be their decision, if they wanted to swap out whoever they assign or.
Well, that is interesting though, Andrea, because with Summer of the Arts, when someone joins the board, there is a little bit of discussion, I don't know.
What if we don't like the cut of this person's jib? They're kind of there every month. So it's kind of is there a way to get a feel for who might be on, who is maybe suggested for this ex officio seat, and then just some discussion by the committee members? I don't know.
I'm the one who brought this up, right? I mean, it seems to me that we have a disconnect. We have a huge campus in the middle of our community, and we have no involvement with them as a public art committee. And so I think it's important that we have somebody from the university and somebody who is you have no control over Julie and I, right? I mean, so next public works director comes in, right?
Sure.
You're not going to vet that person, and so I think we have to rely on the university to, if they're willing, and it sounds like they are willing to do so, to provide us with an appropriate person that at the right level within their organization to be able to make a difference.
And it's been so instrumental having Julie and Ron on this committee. So in real time, we can say, is that possible? Or, what do you think of that? We can, it really expedites what can happen. And I do love the idea of being able to do more together.
And that is
with
part of our
Leslie, and
strategic plan, too.
engagement
Yeah.
is fantastic. And this just adds another layer so that, I work at the university, and sometimes I often, not sometimes, often, don't know what is happening it's just almost impossible. So to have somebody who is invested in that public art or whatever, public happening, I think that's going to be very beneficial. And yeah, I think that someone who's going to volunteer to do this work is going to be a good member, because I think that people do get a little say, like somebody's going to be like, oh, I would be interested in doing that. That's exactly the person we want, so.
I'm coming around. I came into it a little bit skeptical just of the, yes, it's public
good.
property and it's a public institution, but is that person representing what the university wants versus none of us are sitting here representing our company or our job or our, would that give sort of the university or downtown an outside influence? But the more I think about it, it's one of 9.
Right.
Sure.
So I'm
I mean,
okay
I think
with
it's
one
good
of
to
9.
have discussion, though. Yeah, I think so too, and they should be a voting member. And you're right, we need to trust who they would volunteer to do this.
Right, I mean, that's
Yeah, I mean, the nature that they're amenable to this, I think, shows like they want to partner, and that's what my conversations with them have been. It hasn't been like, well, we want to come in and undermine what you're doing by
That's
any
fabulous,
means.
No, I think it's very exciting, and and the more it's sort of what we were talking about with sort of bringing arts together, and this is like Ron's saying, this is a big player in our city, and so having and there's 8 people that can keep it in check. We need to.
I hate to throw a wrench, but the discussion about replacing the at-large versus replacing the design professional, I actually would be in favor of replacing one of the design professional chairs.
Because they can also be the other people.
Yes, because everyone could be a design professional. Everyone is free to run, but to have it be 4 at large, 2 art or design professional, and then the 3 ex officio. Just also knowing that whoever comes from the university is probably also coming from that sort of background. And I should look, I might be talking myself out of my own chair here of who comes up first from design professionals, but
like you said, an at-large could be an art or design
Yes.
person, right?
yes.
I mean,
Just to get more, I guess I'd be in favor of keeping the current number of free and open to the community chairs and replacing one that already has sort of restrictions on it.
that makes it easier to find people, I think. And I don't know if we have to say it's this person is an at-large and or art design person for seat number 8 or whatever.
So the recommended change would be at least 2 shall be art or design professionals? Is that?
That's what I'm proposing, yeah.
I think that's
Is there a majority in favor of that change?
Sure.
I think that could work. That makes sense.
Okay. So I'll just reread it for the record so you all know what you're possibly voting on. It would be the Public Art Advisory Committee shall consist of 9 members, 6 of whom shall be appointed by the City Council. Of the 6 appointees, at least 2 shall be art or design professionals, 3 members shall be ex officio, and shall be 1 staff representative from and appointed by the University of Iowa with professional or administrative authority related to public art, campus planning, and/or campus enhancement, and 1 staff representative from each of the departments of Public Works and Parks and Recreation. All appointed members of the committee will be qualified electors of the city.
Okay.
I think it seems balanced.
Do we need to move to approve that?
Yes, we would need a motion to approve. And then the next step, if you approve it, it will need to go to the council rules committee. So I think they meet just as needed. And then ultimately it will need to be approved by city council. So a couple of levels of approval. And then we would just wait for that art or design seat to vacate and then ask the university to fill it.
I will move to approve that.
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What is the AI command?
All right. Staff updates?
I have a couple. So at the Tuesday City Council meeting, 2 new members were appointed for their terms starting January 1. Andrea and Stephanie's terms are ending. So Susan Thompson and Aaron Mosley were appointed.
I'm really excited about Aaron Mosley. I really am. He's lovely. I don't know about the Susan person, so if anybody knows about the Susan person. All right.
And then just a couple updates from the strategic plan progress tracker I included in your agenda packet. We covered a lot of them on this agenda, so I won't talk about those. But 2 that we didn't is I started conversations with the city attorney's office about updating our policy for the removal and deaccessioning of pieces. Of course, as you know, there's kind of been a lawsuit going on in Des Moines, kind of related to the Visual Artists' Rights Act. And so we just want to make sure we're evaluating our policy in light of that. And since our strategic plan identified an action to update that policy and have kind of a clear procedure, we're getting that underway. So that will be coming to you in the coming months. And then we started talking to the downtown district about their Hello Lamppost technology. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but they used it to activate like their Large Bunny public art project that they had several years ago. They've used it for like construction projects, and it's basically a software where someone can use their phone to like text and talk to an inanimate object like a public art piece. And so they have some ideas about how we could activate public art in the downtown and maybe even improve our map and do some like more interactive walks and stuff like that. And so I'll be meeting with them to kind of talk through ideas, but of course that would all come to you as well. Just kind of giving you a heads up on what's coming. Yeah. That's all I have, unless you have questions about anything.
Well, this is a different topic. Can I bring up a different topic?
I would wait till old or new business probably, unless it's a question for staff.
Old and new business.
But okay, this is really exciting because we have not had an old and new business item. So like save it so we can do something a little different with our agenda.
I think the art walk sounds really great, and people with their phone being able to do that, I think will enhance not only tourism, but that's tourism visitors, for football, and people come to this town and then have time, and this is a nice way for them to engage with this city. And this further underscores our previous agenda item with that can definitely be a partnership with the university. It just makes a lot of sense. Wayfinding. Good thing.
Other staff members of the city? All right, nothing, no news from you all. All right. Old or new business, Anita?
I wanted to just follow up on the Art Alliance, where that was at, if they had, because this all sort of seems interconnected.
Yes. Yep. So the Art Alliance feasibility study is still underway. The consultant is working towards a recommendation for an alliance, which they'll present to the steering committee at the November meeting. I'm not sure what the date is.
Isn't this the November? Oh, they're in November.
Yeah,
not
they're
October.
November. Yeah,
Aren't I
the meeting of the steering committee, which is in November. It's in a couple weeks, I think. So, the expectation at that time was that the consultant will present this recommendation, and the steering committee will provide feedback, and then the consultant will prepare a final report. So we can certainly have them come back and present that final report to you all at that time if you're interested.
Very.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Glad to hear.
All right, all right. All right. Adjournment. Here's looking at you, Ron.
Motion to adjourn?
Second. Do we need a second on that? Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Hey.
Thank you.